Hey, puppy. Hey, buddy. Hey. Oh, the one downside about having a big e-bike, in case you counter a big log or something that's in the trail. Recharge. I just ran over my sunglasses. You could take this all the way up to Massachusetts and back and be fine. If you want to try and pick it up, go ahead. It's very heavy. I don't think I'm supposed to be on this dock. Nobody's gonna know. Except for you guys, but that's our little secret, right? Yeah, we actually did go the wrong way. So we've just been going slow and fast. Oh, that plane just flew over my head. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. Today we are on the wallke H9 dual motor. This is the step-over version of the bike that I reviewed not too long ago, the wallke H7. Different color, same battery amount, 60 amp hours, 48 volts, although they are now selling an H9 version with an extra, I think 20 or 22 amp hour battery in the frame. And that's going to give you, what, a total of 82 amp hours of battery. That's just insane. This review is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do because I already took the wallke H7 through a full review. I did all the tests. It actually has the same drivetrain as this, the same controller, same motors. We're just going to do a few of the tests. The 0 to 20, the main hill climb test, the steep hill climb test, and then we're going to do a range test. And that's something I didn't do in the first review. That's what we're going to do on this bike. And that'll give you a good idea on how both bikes will perform in the range department. Without further ado, 0 to 20, throttle only. 3, 2, 1, boom. Pretty soft start. All right, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and just check out the speedometer accuracy. It looks like the speedometer is about 1 mile an hour off. That's not too bad. We got 18 miles an hour here, 17, 16, 17 here, 16 here. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's acceptable. We're going to keep this bike on full power for the most part. If I do any pedaling, it's just because I'm bored. But let's go ahead and head over to our steep hill climb test. We're going to do the downhill speed test right now. Looks like we're topping off at 33 miles an hour, and that's about as fast as the motors will take you. This is a 48-volt e-bike. Most single-motor 48-volt e-bikes with these 20 by 4-inch size wheels might take you 30 miles an hour, maybe a little bit slower. This one takes you up to 32, 33. That is about as fast as 48 volts will take most of these geared hub motors. There are some that can do a little bit faster, but for the most part, that's about where they top out. So we're keeping it on dual motor the whole time because this bike, it has a reasonable amount of power, I think, for a dual motor bike. It has a very soft start to make sure that front wheel doesn't spin out. And some of you guys might not like that. I guarantee you most people who don't like that have not ridden a dual motor e-bike all that much because you'll know that gets old real quick when your front wheel is always slipping out from underneath you. In fact, it gets dangerous around turns. Here we go. Steep hill climb test, wallke H9. 3, 2, 1, go. Throttle only. The performance of this should be pretty much the same as the wallke H7. Maybe a tiny bit slower because I do have a little bit of extra weight on me. So we're getting a solid 11 miles an hour. All right. So what we're going to try and do in today's range test is get the bike to around 20% battery. We're not going to kill the battery completely because then I will be stranded. I also can't stay out here all day because I got stuff I got to do. But we'll see if we can get you guys maybe 40 to 50 miles. Maybe the battery will be at 20%. And you guys might think that's not that much, but remember, this bike has dual motors, so it does use up the battery a little bit faster than what a normal e-bike would do. And we are actually going back to the main hill climb test area because I just realized I completely forgot to do that test. So we're going to do that right now. While we're still on a mostly fresh charge, dropping off the curb, suspension does work well. I could definitely tell that wallke has programmed a soft start into this bike because you'll hit the throttle and it starts you off slow. Once the bike is moving, then you feel the full power. And I used to not like that, guys. I used to be one of those guys that just wanted all the power all at once. And I think each bike should have that adjustable in the system. But trust me, it does get old very quickly. You're just sick of spinning out that front wheel, and it gets dangerous around corners, especially low-speed cornering. Alright, here we go. Without further ado, main hill climb test. Throttle only. 3, 2, 1. Boom. So far, so good. Good start. And if you guys like content like this, please feel free to subscribe to the channel if I've earned your subscription. Like the video if you like it. If you guys want to check out this bike, along with if they are selling the bike with that extra 22 or 20 amp hour battery, I'll leave this bike listed in the description below. There we go. Finishing off at about 23 miles an hour. Very, very respectable speed. And during today's test, we are actually going to be doing a little bit of an off-road test for this bike as well. That's going to be part of the range test. That's part of the loop that we're going to be doing today. And I am fairly excited to do that because this is a big, heavy bike, and it's always a challenge to bring these monster dual-motor e-bikes through those tighter trails. We're not doing a single-track mountain bike trail. It's not going to be that crazy. But it should be interesting. Should make for some fun footage. Alright, so this is the only small part of a main road that I have to be on. Anytime I'm on an e-bike, I actually always try and stay off the main roads. Number one, it's not the safest. Number two, I don't even enjoy it. It's loud, there's lots of cars everywhere. There's cars flying by you. Lots of exhaust fumes. We're just going to be on this main road for a very short portion of the ride. Cruising downhill, so another downhill speed for you guys. We can top out at about 35 miles an hour. And that's it for the main road, ladies and gentlemen. Very smooth power delivery on this wallke bike. My channel seems to be the channel of cheap and fast. You guys like fast stuff at an affordable price. And who doesn't? I know I do. So typically these dual motor bikes, I tend to review quite a bit of them. I really do enjoy them because of that power, and especially nowadays they have some incredible value. You get 60 amp hours of battery with this bike. In fact, like I mentioned earlier, this specific model, the wallke H9, sometimes is on sale with an extra 20 to 22 amp hour battery for the frame. So you can get 80 amp hours from this bike. That's wild. For a pretty good price too. So if range is something you guys value, and you want the dual motor hill climbing performance and torque, this might be a great option for you. And I do really think this bike does look great in black. It almost looks like if Batman had an e-bike, he would have this. It's all blacked out. Besides the red lettering, it does look pretty badass in my opinion. And in terms of speed, if you're someone who is very conscious of the different e-bike classes, class 1, 2, and 3, this bike does not go all that much faster than what a class 3 e-bike might go. Right now we're topping out top speed 32 miles an hour. That's about what I got in the wallke H7 because remember, these bikes, they have essentially the same drivetrain, the same components, the same controller, the same motors, the same wheels, the same suspension. The only difference is the frame. They have a different frame on them. But this bike doesn't go all that much faster than you could pedal a class 3 e-bike up to 28 miles an hour. So if you want something that stays kind of within that legal realm, this might be a good option for you. If you're not really a speed demon, but you do want the torque of dual motors, this is a pretty good option. And this entire ride, I'm not really pedaling at all. What you'll realize is once you get on a bike that has more than, I would say more than like 2,500 to 3,000 watts, your leg input doesn't do a whole lot. Maybe at most, if you're an elite level athlete, maybe you can get 500 watts out of your legs, maybe. But if you're just pedaling like a normal person, you're not really going to be adding all that much meaningful power into your e-bike. So you might as well not even pedal, in my opinion. One of the reasons I'm doing a range test on this bike and not a lot of other bikes is that number one, it does have a huge battery, so I do want to know the range of this bike, especially because it has dual motors. I'm curious what the ratio is of power to battery and how that will affect real-world range performance. But number two, this bike has one of my favorite seats ever. It has one of the squishiest, softest, widest bike seats out there. And I do greatly appreciate that, and my rear end will enjoy that very much throughout today's range test. This is one of those bikes where your rear end is probably going to give up before the bike does. So range anxiety most likely won't really be an issue on a bike like this. And as we're riding around on the street, stopping at stop signs, braking downhill, I do appreciate the fact that this bike also has the quad piston calipers with the 203mm rotors. And those rotors are extra thick to make sure that the rotors themselves don't heat up too quickly. Because if your rotors get hot, your pads get hot, which means your brakes are going to fade and not work all that great. And the brakes on this thing so far have been phenomenal. The smaller 20x4-inch wheels definitely makes cornering more enjoyable. So right now we're going up a slight incline, and this bike isn't struggling at all. And that's the power of dual motors. Right now what we're doing is we're headed to a trail in my state called the Farmington River Trail. It's a rail trail, and I go on this trail all the time. This particular part of the trail goes all the way up into Massachusetts. I don't know if we're going to make it into Massachusetts. It really depends on where my mileage is, where the battery is, but we'll see. We also have a limited amount of time. Right now it's 3:20 p.m. and the sun will be going down in not too long. I do wish the hand grips on this thing were more ergonomic. There's just simple rounded handlebar grips. It would be nice if I could rest my palms on the handlebar grips if they were the ergonomic style ones. That's not too hard to switch out, but if I were wallke, that's what I would install. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived to our rail trail, and here's the plan for how we're going to ride. I try my best to be one of those people who don't ruin things for everyone else. So, if we see pedestrians, we are going to slow down to at most 20 miles an hour and pass them at that speed. But if there's no one around, we'll go a little bit faster. There's no harm in that. So right here, 16 miles an hour passing people. Try and be polite when you're on trails with pedestrians. In case you guys are interested, the temperature right now, I think it's about 70, something like that. Tire pressure is 20 in the front, 25 in the rear. I am about 195 pounds with about maybe 20 pounds of stuff on me. Backpack, my coffee mug right here, clothes, boots, etc. And again, we're not really going to be pedaling all that much at all, if at all. In fact, maybe we'll get like 1 or 2 pedals just to look like we're pedaling. Yeah, see all these people? We're not going to go too crazy. In fact, we could bring it down to pedal assist 2, and the throttle will not take us past 20. But just to be nice, we're going to bring it down to pedal assist 1. And it looks like we're holding 17 miles an hour. And that's a nice slow cruising speed for a pedestrian trail like this. So you don't have to really focus on controlling your speed. You can just bring it to pedal assist 1, hit the throttle, and you'll be limited to 17 miles an hour. But then when there's a clearing like this, we can crank it up. See that? Top speed test. Again, this bike has the same exact components besides the frame as the step-through version. So we're topping out at about 32 right now, and that's about what the last bike did. So reasons you might get this bike over the step-through version is the fact that they sell that extra battery, so you can get more range out of this bike if you want. And if you want the looks of this bike versus the other one, honestly, the more I review these bikes, the more I really like step-through bikes. It used to be one of those things that was like a girl's bike only, but nowadays people just get step-throughs just because they're more comfortable. If anything, the step-over design of this frame isn't all that high to begin with. So honestly, you can go either way with either of these bikes. Alright guys, we are at the off-road portion of today's test. We're at 11 miles. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I do feel the suspension working nicely. Feels very smooth. And I didn't air the tires up all that much. So this is a very comfortable ride. Although this is very easy right now. There's no bumps really. Again, this isn't a single track mountain bike trail. This is actually where people walk. But we're just going to cruise around and enjoy the ride. Make this part of the range test. Hey puppy. Hey buddy. Hey. How you guys doing? We're going to stop here for a quick second so I can get you guys a good look at this bike. Tell you a little bit more about the specs and components of this bike. Let's jump right in. So starting off at the top, we have some standard rubberized grips, simple control panel, DY Island hydraulic disc brake levers, nice looking display, same as on the step-through version of this bike, with our usual Shimano 7-speed Mickey Mouse style shifter and a half-twist throttle. And we also do get a horn button. By the way, this display does come with a USB charging port, adjustable height stem that is also foldable, nice looking headlight which does turn on with the push of one button. plastic fenders in the front and in the rear. The rear light does work as a tail light. Simple front fork with a compression and lockout adjustment and a preload adjustment right here. The tires in this bike are CST BFT 20x4" knobbies, pretty standard. Heavier but more durable, and I would say more stylish mag wheels. And by the way, Wallke does an excellent job with securing the front motor and the front axle into this fork. There's a bunch of washers in here that make it so that this thing isn't going to go anywhere, so it is very safe and secure in terms of how it's mounted. 203mm brake rotors in the front and in the rear to give you lots of stopping power, and you also get quad piston calipers on both the rear and the front. Check out this frame. Look how cool this bike looks. Totally blacked out. I think it's a pretty sharp looking bike. Black with the red accents, my favorite. And by the way, this bike is foldable. So here's where the bike folds in the frame. The latch is on this side right here. And by the way, if you see this hole right there, I mentioned earlier that this bike does come with an optional frame battery, so you can get a battery in here. And speaking of which, you do get a 60 amp hour battery right here, 48 volts, and this bike does come with an 8 amp charger. The back of the frame has a rear storage area that is welded, and it's part of the frame. You have an optional back seat that you can easily disconnect if you need to, although I don't know where someone is going to put their feet because there are no rear foot pegs on this bike. Dual rear suspension that does work very well, and I think these are necessary considering how much weight is being put on the back wheel. Wallke has one of my favorite widest squishy seats. I always rave about Wallke seats. This is one of the best seats ever. If I bought this bike, I probably would not change this seat out. 7-speed Shimano transmission with a pretty standard Shimano tourney derailleur and a derailleur guard. Very nice. And you also get a medium-sized chainring up front. To take this battery out, all you have to do is fold the seat up using the lever, unplug this area right here, unlock the key from this side, and you can easily pull this battery out. And the key does have to be in the battery to use the bike. And since this is a foldable e-bike, you're also going to get foldable pedals. Alright guys, so that's the specs and components of the Wallke H9. Let's go ahead and continue on with our ride. But first, we're going to have a little bit of hydration. This right here is filtered water. I actually filter a lot of my water through coffee grounds. It's a great way to get nice clean water, and it gives you a little bit of an energy boost. My favorite type of water. We're going to just relax, have a little bit of hydration, and then continue on with our journey. Wow. Look at how gorgeous this is. Perfect temperature, perfect weather, clear skies, sun is going down. This is great. Although I don't think I'm supposed to be on this dock. That's okay. Nobody's going to know. Except for you guys, but that's our little secret, right? How's it going, guys? Good, you? Oh yeah, 100% electric. Yep, this is a beast. It doesn't go the fastest. It goes a little bit over 30, but it has a huge battery. This is a 60 amp hour battery. It's massive. They're getting cheaper and cheaper too. Like a few years ago, this would have been like $5,000–6,000. This you can get for like $2,000 now. Oh yeah. You could take this all the way up to Massachusetts and back and be fine. It's got a ton of range. Yeah. No pedaling. You don't need to pedal it because it's got 2 motors. Oh yeah. Yep. So I'm about to do a test to see how it does up this hill and up this hill. And I bet it's going to do just fine. Yeah. Watch him do it. All right. Going up. Easy. Yeah. So you don't have to pedal this thing at all. Once you get one, you'll be hooked. You'll realize, why didn't I get one 5 years ago? This one's very heavy. If you want to try and pick it up, go ahead. It's very heavy. It's about, I think this one's like 130 pounds, somewhere on there. The smaller, like lighter weight mountain bikes, they won't give you as many features. Like the battery itself is 30 pounds. It's a big battery. Usually e-bikes with one motor, they weigh around 80 pounds, usually. The lighter, more like mountain bike oriented e-bikes are in the 50-pound range. It's got a throttle. It's a lot easier than a motorcycle. There's no clutch, nothing. It's just brake and go, and that's it. It's very easy to use. All right, take care, guys. Have a good one, guys. And we're off. Onwards. Let's get our light turned on. Nice. See the headlights? So this little off-road area is essentially a big loop. We're going to loop around and then get you guys back on the trail. But the big, fat, squishy tires do absorb a lot of the smaller stuff, and the rear suspension does absorb a lot of the bigger stuff. So as I was telling the gentleman earlier, this is like one of those long-range cruisers, and the one downside about having a big e-bike like this is stuff like this. Like in case you counter a big log or something that's in the trail, it will be a bigger pain in the ass to lift your bike. But you take the good with the bad, ladies and gentlemen. You pick your poison. Do you want a bike with massive power and massive range? You're going to have massive weight. You want lightweight? You're either going to have not a lot of power and probably not a lot of range. And we actually did go the wrong way. So I'm going to turn around and head on back because I am terrible with getting lost, even on trails that I've been on multiple times. Just to keep things interesting for you guys and for myself. Again, what I like about wallke and how they made a soft start is it's especially good for off-road situations like this, because in low traction environments, if you have a very high-powered dual motor e-bike, that front wheel is constantly going to be slipping. And I did build a dual motor e-bike, very high power. And for me, what I like the most is 2 throttles. The reason I think that's important is because that front wheel needs an extra amount of control. If you have 2 motors linked to 1 throttle, which a lot of you guys might think is ideal, you need a lot more control for the front motor than the rear one, or you have to make it a soft start like this bike is. Because trust me, guys that haven't ridden a bike like this, you will be slipping that front wheel. I assure you. Here we go, going up. What a nice trail. Perfect weather, nice fall day. The leaves are turning orange. I actually recently just got back from Arizona. An e-bike company invited us out there, a lot of YouTubers, and man, it was hot. It was just a giant desert, and it felt like things were more or less trying to survive there instead of thrive. Here, things feel like they're thriving, right? Foliage is lush. Lots of people. Hey, puppy. Hey, buddy. How you guys doing? And we have a beautiful temperature also. Look at this. This is amazing. So the throttle of this bike is limited to each pedal assist level. If you guys want to check out the speed of each pedal assist level, you can watch the full review of the wallke H7 that I did, and I will leave that listed in the description below, along with right over here on the top right hand corner. I'll see if I can show you the speeds again, but I kind of like that because right now it's limiting me to a nicer, slower speed of about 15 miles an hour, which is good for terrain like this. It is a little bit on the bumpy side. Loose terrain, very fine. It looks like kind of like dirt / sand, and we're just obliterating this terrain. Crushing it like it's nothing. Suspension is working nicely as well. Yeah, this is definitely sand. I feel the front wheel getting a little squirrely, but dual motors plus fat tires, ladies and gentlemen, we're just crushing it. You just want to make sure you don't make any sudden turns in sand. Yeah, we're just floating over these bumps. Feels pretty good. It's not premium suspension, don't get me wrong, but it works. It does the job. If you guys hear a little bit of rattling, that's from the stuff I have on this bike, like this bag right here. A little bit of rattling in the back. Not too bad though. For budget parts, it's acceptable. It's like we're on gravel now, and we're just chilling. Tight cornering on this bike is pretty easy. Once again, the smaller tires, smaller wheels, gonna give you nice nimble steering. And in gravel, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, the soft start is a treat, because trust me, it would be losing traction if that wasn't the case. We'd just be spinning that front wheel out and just falling pretty much around any turn. So I am a fan of soft starts for dual motor bikes. Alright, so we are back on a different trail, but what we're going to do now is have to cut through the off-road part again to get back to where we were. So let's speed up again and continue on with this range test. This is beautiful. Beautiful day, beautiful weather. See, that's where we were, that's where we crossed. And there's people walking on this sidewalk, and that's okay. We could just go right around them. Easy peasy. Thanks to the dual motors and the suspension, this doesn't feel too bad. And we're back. Again, no pedaling at all. This is a throttle-only range test. We're going to cross it on over onto the street. Slower traffic in this area. I think there's some kind of baseball game going on. A soccer game. We're going to cut on through here. cut between the speed bumps because we are an e-bike. Alright, so the battery is showing under load, 82%. Again, we're throttle only. We're at about 15.5 miles. I guarantee you that if I let this bike rest for a bit and let the battery rest, the battery would probably jump back up to 100%. Alright, so we just made one big loop because if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the dock area. So we're going to be headed back to our rail trail now. Let's turn the light on. It is getting a little bit darker. I do see that headlight working. That's good. Alright. Gonna go up this little hill right here. Dual motor. It'll just power right up. Zero pedaling, guys. Nothing. Just gonna pull right up. Boom. Easy peasy. Okay. We're gonna turn our light off. Put our glasses back on. And keep going. Here we go. 16 miles. And now what we'll go ahead and do is just ride around on this flat trail for a little bit longer. Catch up with you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so we are on the trailer right now. And we're at about 23, 24 miles right now. The display says 28 miles, and I'm kind of pissed at myself. I just checked the second battery for my camera, and it is unfortunately dead. I forgot to charge it. And so what we're gonna do is make some stops on the way back to my house, to my neighborhood, and I'll give you guys some updates on the range. Looks like right now we're at 70% charge, and we'll see how it goes. It is a good time to head back because the sun is going down little by little. It's going to be dark by the time we get back, so might as well turn around right now. See you guys in a bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we are at about 32 miles. Looks like we're at about 52% battery. And we've just been cruising. We've just been slowing down around pedestrians, 20 miles an hour, then picking it back up to 31 miles an hour. And guys, even at 52% battery, check out the speed that we can still maintain at lower voltage. Look at this. We're still cruising 30 miles an hour. Battery, we're down to 51%. It is getting a little bit chilly. All right guys, so give you a little mileage update. We are at 48% battery, 34 miles, almost 35 miles. The sun is going down, so I'm happy we did turn around. We're headed back. But guys, I'm pretty impressed with this bike because even at half battery charge, it's able to stay just about at 30 miles an hour, close to its full charge top speed. So we've just been going slow and fast. Anytime we pass by, a plane just flew over my head. Anytime we pass by a pedestrian, we go slow, like 20 miles an hour, and then we speed it back up to 30 miles an hour on this flat trail. But we are about to go back on the roads right now and head on back to my neighborhood. And so I'm gonna try and get this bike to maybe about 50 miles and see where the battery ends up. So we'll check in with you guys in a bit. All right guys, so we are almost at 40 miles. Battery charge says it's 38%, 39%. Let's see how it does up our steep hill climb test. I am not using my normal camera, so I'm gonna try my best to get the speedometer in the shot, but let's see how it goes. 3, 2, 1, go. Steep hill climb test at a 38% battery charge. 11, looks like we're gonna be stuck at 9 miles an hour. Still pretty good, but definitely slower than before. And now we're also gonna test the 0 to 20 on a 36% battery charge. So here we go. All right, I'll try and do this one-handed. Of course, this is throttle only. 3, 2, 1, boom. And 20. That way you guys can get a good comparison of what your power levels are going to be like. And one last test, we're going to do our main hill climb test again with this battery charge. I just ran over my sunglasses. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I never buy expensive sunglasses. I just bought these. They're like $8 or something. All right, here we go. Main hill climb test, throttle only. Battery is at 36%. 3, 2, 1, go. Still a good amount of power. Dual motors does not let you down. Still got great power. Look at that. And that's time. Alright guys, that is the end of the range test. This bike did pretty good. We are at about 40 miles. So it looks like battery percentage right now is 36%. And we did 41 miles. My rear end is starting to hurt. Looks like we've done a total of 3 hours. Most of that has been riding. I only stopped to film the specs and components and chug my water, my filtered water, through coffee grounds. So my guess is that this bike could probably get 50 miles of range, throttle only, with the type of riding that I was doing, and I was using full throttle for most of the ride. I was just blasting it on full throttle. Anytime I could, I did slow down around pedestrians. So if you're gonna be pedaling this bike and going slower, you can get a lot of range from this thing. My guess is that you could probably get to 100 miles with this bike if you're going slower, if you're going to be pedaling. But if you're just going to be full blast throttling it like I did, easy 50 miles. And 50 miles is a long bike ride. Your rear end is going to give out before this bike does. So if you guys do want to check out this bike, it is listed in the description below. Maybe they're selling that extra battery with the 60 amp hour battery that this thing already has. And that's crazy, 80 amp hours of battery with dual motors. It's wild. But that's it for today, guys. That is the range test for the wallke H9, which, by the way, if you buy the wallke H7, will probably have the same exact range because it's the same exact controller, the same exact motors, the same exact power, just a different frame. That's it for today, folks. Until next time.